Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a new review of ExpressVPN, putting it in the 2.0 system, which I'm finding out here on the channel is more strict than ever. VPNs are getting slaughtered here, getting nerfed to the ground, which I think is a good thing in a lot of ways. Having a more differentiated tier list is a good thing. We now have multiple tiers, multiple VPNs getting pushed in multiple tiers. We have the S tier, which is the cream of the crop. We have like A tier, which is a pretty good VPN service, but not perfect. B tier is just like kind of like an average tier, but okay. C tier and D tier after that, not really recommended. So those are the new tiers. VPNs are getting put in different tiers, and we're gonna find out which tier ExpressVPN is gonna be put in. So stay tuned, find out which one it is. If you guys decide to want to purchase ExpressVPN after watching this review, you'll find a link in the description down below, which will help support the channel. Or if you do decide to buy another VPN, which is an S tier, you could find those on vpntierlist.com. Anyways, guys, thanks for checking out this video. So what about ExpressVPN's price? Well, unfortunately, it's not very cheap. $13 a month is higher than our $6 to $10 asking price for 1 month. It doesn't have a 6-month plan, so it can't get points there either. It does have that 6-month plan, but unfortunately, it's going to be $60, which is actually what we're looking for in a 1-year plan. The 1-year plan itself is $100, and there is no 2 or 3-year plan that will fit within our asking price. That said, ExpressVPN does a little bit better than some other competitors out there. There's no kind of annoying sales, exclusive sales that try to rope you in for a specific price point to try to confuse you a little bit. There also isn't any increase in pricing after term ends, so that's good to see. However, it is limited in its simultaneous connections. I think it only gives you 5, which is also a little bit of a letdown. It does have a 30-day refund policy, which is good though, as you can see here. So something's good, something's bad. Overall though, just a bit too expensive. So guys, this is what ExpressVPN's application looks like, and it's mostly pretty much the same since I first started using it like 4 or 5 years ago. It's had a little bit of an update with this kind of like weird kind of retro styling. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I do think the application itself is fine in terms of an interface being easy to use and stuff like that. ExpressVPN is a little bit different than some of the other options out there. It doesn't have WireGuard, but it do has a new lightweight protocol, which is similar to WireGuard in terms of functionality. I wouldn't say it's faster than WireGuard, but it can compete with it. They kind of make it a point to market it as like the best new protocol, but in my experience, it gets just as good a speeds as WireGuard or around the same area. So yeah, I'll give them a point just for having that kind of WireGuard because it is kind of a unique situation, and I want to ding them too much for not, supporting it when lightweight is pretty good. It's definitely gotten a little bit faster for sure. They do have some of the other cool kind of features you're looking for that other VPNs do kind of have nowadays. You have split tunneling, kill switches. It also has stuff like browser extensions, Fire Stick support. However, it is lacking a lot of other things. It doesn't have, a good list of things. It doesn't have dedicated IP support. It doesn't have SOCKS 5 proxy support for BitTorrent or torrenting stuff. It also doesn't have port forwarding, which is good for seeding torrents. It doesn't have really that many DNS controls. You can kind of play around with the application, and you can see it is pretty basic. So yeah, it doesn't really have any port controls either. And it also does not have a Linux GUI. It has a Linux CLI, but no GUI support. So for those people who want to use a GUI on Linux, some VPNs do support that, but ExpressVPN does not. Also, it doesn't have ad blocking either, which is a little bit odd since a lot of VPNs now support that, and it is a cool feature to have. So it definitely is kind of missing like half of the stuff for an application to have, missing a lot of the compatibility features that I like with applications and stuff like that. It does get the basics and fundamentals pretty good, and it does kind of have some interesting kind of idiosyncrasies, like you can kind of copy and paste the code to start up the app, which is kind of cool, and log in pretty quickly. But besides that, it's kind of plain, and I think it does need to add some of these compatibility things to compete, even though it doesn't seem that interested in doing so. Alright, now we're going to be doing this speed test for ExpressVPN, seeing what kind of speeds we can get. Ideally, I would like to see 700 to 800. That's the range for the fastest VPNs for the speed test that I do. And then torrenting, we'll want to see between 50 to 70 or even 50 to 90 megabytes a second. So this speed test looks okay. Not in the faster range, which is a little bit disappointing, but not too bad. So we'll have to see, what kind of performance we can get in the torrent test. So yeah, All right, so we now have loaded in that torrent file, and we're going to see what kind of range we can get here for this torrent test. Ideally, like I said, anywhere between 50 to 90, 60 to 90 would be good as well. And we're getting pretty close to that range, but sticking a little bit under 50. And now I previously was talking about how lightweight was just as good as WireGuard in some cases, and some tests I've done, it's done pretty well. But there's also been some cases where it hasn't been as fast. And today, we are seeing decent performance. We got up to 50 there for a second, but not as consistent and fast as some VPNs I've been testing lately. NordVPN, WeVPN, TorqueGuard, some of these VPNs were faster for torrenting. This just seems fine. We did get 56 there. This would probably get, well, it is picking up a little bit. 66, that's good. I would have liked to see this range be more consistent. It does seem to be picking up now though, kind of tapering off too. Overall, I would give these speeds maybe 4 to 5 for both the torrent and speed test. Just a little bit under what I was expecting. So how does ExpressVPN do in the privacy audit? Well, unfortunately not too well actually, which is kind of interesting because they kind of market themselves as the main kind of original private VPN or something like that. You know, it's an old company that's been around for this pretty much entire VPN competitive era. And it kind of does market itself as that kind of premium secure VPN. But if we look at the privacy, things definitely need improvement. We have 5 ad trackers, 3 cookies. The site tells you that it visits Facebook Facebook that you visited, and also they're using Google Analytics still. They also have 2 trackers on Android, Google Crash Analytics and Firebase Analytics, 10 permissions, which isn't bad actually. And these aren't anything too bad, but still, I would like to see 0 trackers, lower permissions, and a better blacklight performance here from ExpressVPN. These 2 things are pretty concerning to me. That said, ExpressVPN is a pretty trusted VPN for the most part in terms of the company. It doesn't have any logs on its privacy policy, and it has kind of been audited and stuff like that. They also haven't been sold out to anyone. One thing I do wish that ExpressVPN had would be a little bit better, more fully fledged 2-factor authentication. I talked to the customer support, and they only really have email 2-factor authentication, no app support or anything like that. So that is a little bit limited there in terms of how that works. You can't do other kind of 2-factor authentication. As you can see, something with TorqueGuard, they have actual 2-factor authentication, not just that email stuff, so that is much better in my opinion. Another thing I think ExpressVPN misses out on is they don't really have any complementary privacy services besides, you know, working with the routers. They don't really have any email or any kind of extra services that can be bundled in that could be useful for your privacy. That's not necessarily for some customers, but some customers do like that option. I do think having a little bit more privacy features either bundled in or as a small add-on price is definitely a bonus, and they don't have that from what I could find. Good thing about ExpressVPN is they do have excellent customer support. You can see I'm talking to live chat here, trying to figure out some of the answers for the privacy section, trying to figure out if they support 2FA. I couldn't really find it in my account center page, and I know they have kind of like account verification via email, but that's not quite the same thing. So I'm trying to ask Giovanni here the question. Let's see if he figures it out. The thing about ExpressVPN's customer support is that it's pretty slow and honestly a little bit annoying to work with. I asked him if they had 2FA on their account. He made me like verify my account, and he made me like wait 10 minutes just to tell me that 2FA works with ExpressVPN through the email method like I mentioned before. Not quite 2FA enabled with some other application, device or anything like that. So yeah. Unfortunately, ExpressVPN wasn't able to meet that 1-hour ticket response time that I was looking for. It is very strict, I know that, but there are VPNs that can meet that deadline, which is very impressive. ExpressVPN wasn't able to do that. It's now been 1 hour and no ticket response yet about this issue with Netflix. So a little disappointing there, but live chat is still okay, I guess. So guys, in conclusion, ExpressVPN, I don't know. It did kind of get hit hard in this review compared to the previous high rankings on the last tier list. I think this tier list and ExpressVPN and some of these other VPNs getting nerfed lower is a good example of how this is a more strict system, a more accurate system. ExpressVPN really didn't do well in the pricing category. That's no surprise there. It didn't do well in tier list 1.0 either. However, in the application section, it also kind of get hammered as well, and that's also kind of a theme from the first tier list. You know, it's missing a lot of those compatibility things that you don't see with it, and some of the cool little extra features like ad blocking. It also didn't do well in the privacy audit. It is a kind of well-known VPN, but it is kind of a very business-oriented VPN model in that the website has a lot of trackers, Google Analytics, and stuff like that. Thankfully, there wasn't any data leaks or anything like that, though. And in terms of customer support, live chat almost answered under an hour. It was like 3 or 4 hours, I think, finally. But they didn't meet that 1 hour response time, which some VPNs on the channel can do. So look out for those ones. Streaming is pretty good. Just keep in mind that as of right now, a lot of VPNs are having troubles with Netflix. But once that gets resolved with the other ones, it probably will be resolved with Express as well. And they're aware of the issue and working on fixing it. Does seem to work well with all the other ones too, though, in my tests. All right, guys. So thanks for checking out this review, and we'll see you in the next one very soon.